Imagine holding two completely different versions of your homeland in your head at the exact same time.
Yeah, that is a really strange feeling, actually.
Right, because in one version, you remember, like, the frustrating bureaucratic maze, the hours lost just waiting in line for a simple government document, and the agonizingly slow pace of physical infrastructure.
Oh, absolutely. The endless paperwork.
Exactly. But then you look at the news, and suddenly that exact same country is, like, moving at light speed. I mean, wiring itself into these futuristic digital networks and making unprecedented historic splashes on the global stage.
It creates this fascinating psychological whiplash. You are simultaneously holding on to this nostalgic, maybe slightly frustrating memory while trying to process a modernizing reality that is, in some specific sectors, actually leapfrogging the West.
And that whiplash is exactly what we are exploring today.
Yes.
So welcome to this deep dive from the Nepali Diaspora Network. We are your source for news, views, and insights for Nepalese Nepo-easy worldwide.
Glad to be here, diving into all of this with you.
Yeah, today we are immersing ourselves in the latest Nepali Diaspora Digest. We're specifically tracking week 25 from June 2026. And the mission for this deep dive is to extract the absolute most critical updates for you, the global diaspora.
Right, because we are looking at a nation operating on like two completely different timelines simultaneously.
Yeah, exactly.
We are tracking these incredible futuristic strides in digital connectivity and artistic validation, running headfirst into deeply entrenched systemic growing pains at home.
It's a lot to cover. So let's start with the most immediate, tangible connection you, the listener, probably have to the homeland moving money.
Always a big one.
Right. On June 6th, India and Nepal officially switched on a direct cross-border remittance link. This connects India's UPI system directly with Nepal's National Payments Interface, or NPI.
Which officially makes Nepal the 9th country to join the UPI network.
Yeah.
And that's thanks to the infrastructure built by NPCI International and Nepal Clearinghouse.
Which is a pretty big deal.
It's massive. But the crucial distinction here is that this is a peer-to-peer system. I mean, this isn't just about allowing an Indian tourist to, like, scan a QR code to buy tea in Tamil.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to understand why this is such a structural upgrade, we really have to look at how the old system actually functions, right?
Yeah, the old way is painful.
It really is. Like, if you are a migrant worker in Delhi trying to send money back to a family in Kathmandu, historically, you are relying on the SWIFT banking system or, informal cash carriers.
Right.
And SWIFT is essentially like sending a physical letter through 5 different regional post offices. It takes days. Every intermediary correspondent bank takes a processing cut, and you are just bleeding money on poor exchange rate margins.
Exactly. And what UPI does is replace that entire archaic chain with a direct digital handshake.
Oh, wow. A digital handshake?
Yeah. It instantly verifies the encrypted identities of the sender and the receiver. It completely bypasses the correspondent banks entirely.
So it's not just replacing a congested border checkpoint with a fast lane. It is like building an entirely new digital highway where the toll booths don't even exist.
That's a great way to put it. The money hits the recipient's digital wallet in seconds.
That's incredible.
It is. For the millions of Nepalese Nepo-LEZ families who straddle that open border, it fundamentally changes the speed of their microeconomy.
But, and here is where that whiplash we talked about kicks in. We can shoot money through the cloud in a millisecond, but we cannot seem to move electricity down a mountain.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is the contrast. The physical wiring of the country is a totally different, much slower story.
Right, the government has laid out this highly ambitious new energy target, haven't they?
They have, generating 15,000 megawatts of hydropower by 2030. They're pushing these massive mega projects like Arun 3, which is 900 megawatts alone, and Bitan Karnali.
So the economic dream is to transition from, like, chronic energy shortages to actually exporting surplus power. Wait, I need to stop you there, though. If we are actually finishing these massive hydropower plants, why is there a bottleneck?
Well, that's the thing.
Like, once the dam is built and the turbines are spinning, shouldn't the power just, flow into the grid?
You would think so, right? But the generation of power is only half the equation. The severe bottleneck is the transmission lines.
Oh, the actual wires.
Yes. You currently have finished, fully operational hydropower plants sitting practically idle because there are literally no physical wires to carry that electricity to the urban centers or to the Indian border.
Because building anything in the Himalayas is just a logistical nightmare.
I mean, yes, the brutal terrain plays a big part. but it's much more about land acquisition disputes, endless forestry clearances, and chronic bureaucratic delays.
The bureaucracy again.
Always. They need to string up over 700-800 kilometers of new 66 kilovolt lines just to catch up to the power they are already generating. So the energy is literally trapped.
That is incredibly frustrating. Like, you have the natural resource, you built the massive machine to harvest it, but you forgot to plug it into the wall.
That is a very accurate way to visualize it. And it paints an interesting picture of the broader domestic economy, too. We are looking at a new 2.124 trillion rupee federal budget that business groups like the Nepal India Chamber of Commerce and Industry actually received quite warmly.
2.124 trillion rupees is a massive number, but I mean, what is actually in that budget for the people listening to us right now?
Well, the standout feature for the diaspora is the formal introduction of diaspora bonds.
Oh, I have seen that term floating around the financial news. How does a diaspora bond actually work in practice?
Essentially, it is a mechanism for the government to borrow money directly from its citizens living abroad to fund major infrastructure like those desperately needed transmission lines we just talked about.
Okay, so you, as a non-resident, purchase the bond, meaning you loan the government your capital.
Right. And in return, the government guarantees you a fixed interest rate over a set period. It allows you to invest safely in your homeland's development while earning a return, instead of just sending remittances for immediate family consumption.
Oh, I see. So it attempts to shift the diaspora's role from simply providing like an emergency financial lifeline to actually becoming institutional investors in the nation.
Exactly. And this influx of formal capital is vital right now. Because despite rising bad loans putting significant stress on the banking sector, the NEPC stock index is holding remarkably steady near 2,736.
And for context, holding near 2,736 is significant because it shows the market is finding a floor. It is stabilizing after periods of wild volatility, demonstrating a level of investor resilience despite the underlying friction in the bank.
Yeah, that stability is key.
But until that physical infrastructure is built and those bonds pay off, the undeniable reality is that Nepal's primary export is still its people.
Yes, unfortunately.
And the diplomatic machinery is working overtime to manage that footprint. I mean, we saw the UAE ambassador meet with Speaker Dol Prasad Aryal this week to tackle some very granular human-level diplomacy.
Right. Specifically, Nepal is heavily lobbying the UAE to drop the police report requirement for worker visas.
Now, at first glance, that sounds like a really minor administrative tweak. Why is this a top-level diplomatic priority?
Because for a migrant worker, that single piece of paper is an agonizing hurdle. To get a police clearance report in Nepal, you are often traveling from a rural district to a central hub, waiting in endless lines, navigating an overburdened bureaucracy, and losing days of potential wages just to prove you do not have a criminal record.
Wow, that's a massive burden.
It is. If the UAE drops this requirement, it removes a massive choke point, turning a job offer into an actual reality much faster.
And to support that movement of people, we also saw the announcement of daily flights from Pokhara to Dubai starting September 23rd, which is a massive lifeline for the new Pokhara International Airport.
Yeah, that's huge for connectivity.
Plus, Himalaya Airlines is opening a Kathmandu to Shenzhen route. But I have to push back on the framing here.
Okay, go ahead.
We look at these numbers, like the Nepalese-born population in Australia nearly doubling since 2021 to over 213,000. It is often celebrated as this great success story of global mobility. But isn't there a severe, often ignored cost to this mass exodus?
There absolutely is.
Yeah.
The macro numbers, the record billions of rupees in remittances, they look fantastic on a government balance sheet. But the micro-reality for the individual worker could be absolutely devastating.
Right.
Right now, there is a regional economic downturn in parts of the Gulf, heavily impacting the construction and tourism sectors. The sources detail reports of 36 Nepalese workers in Qatar who've gone completely unpaid for 8 months.
8 months. That is just heartbreaking. Working in extreme conditions, thousands of miles away from your family, with absolutely zero income to show for it.
And their families back home are relying entirely on that money. The tragedy deepens when you realize what is happening to the economy back in Kathmandu. Year on year, inflation has hit 5.04%.
Ouch.
Yeah. So even for the workers who are getting paid in the Gulf, the purchasing power of that money is eroding. The sacrifices they make to send cash home are essentially being neutralized by the rising cost of rice, lentils, and basic rent.
It is a brutal squeeze from both sides. And for those workers, the physical document that allows them to travel, to secure a visa, and to earn their passport is the single most important object they own.
Without a doubt.
Which brings us directly to the biggest political earthquake of the week. Now, before we dive into this, we need to make it explicitly clear to you, the listener, we are impartially reporting the facts and allegations exactly as they appear in the source material.
Yes, very important to state.
We are not endorsing any viewpoints, and we are absolutely not taking any political sides here. We're just telling you what happened.
Correct. We are simply analyzing the structural impact of the news. And the news is an 8 billion rupee scandal surrounding the procurement of e-passports. The Commission for the Investigation of Abuse of Authority, the CIAA, has officially summoned the former foreign minister, Arzu Rana Deuba, Arzu Rana Deuba.
They actually served a 3-day notice directly at her residence, and she isn't the only one implicated. More than 35 people are under intense scrutiny.
It's a very wide net.
It is. Former passport department officials are already in custody. We have local agents for the German tech firms Mühlbauer and Veritos either in custody or reportedly absconding. But wait, I don't quite understand why passport procurement specifically is such a magnet for this kind of high-level scandal.
Well, it comes down to the mechanics of government tech contracts. Passports require highly specialized proprietary technology biometrics, secure microchips, highly specialized printing methods.
Right, you can't just print them at a local shop.
Exactly. Because only a select few global companies, like these German firms, can provide it, the contracts are massive. We're talking billions of rupees. This creates an environment where the bidding process can be manipulated, specifications can be narrowly tailored to favor one specific vendor, and massive commissions can be hidden in the margins.
So the sheer complexity of the technology basically acts as a smokescreen for inflated costs.
Exactly. And the ripple effects of this specific investigation are huge because her husband, the former Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba, is concurrently facing a separate money laundering inquiry.
Wow, so it's hitting the very top.
Yes. Now, to ensure we are reporting the full picture, Arzu Rana Deuba, RAGEOIGUBO, did respond to the CIAA via email. She stated that she is currently abroad for medical treatment and cannot meet the immediate deadline, but she explicitly pledged to fully cooperate with the investigation upon her return.
Okay, good to know.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, you can really feel the paralysis taking hold in Kathmandu. When the very top tier of the political establishment is under active investigation, the entire government machinery tends to freeze.
Oh, for sure. Everything just grinds to a halt.
And the judiciary is feeling it too. We saw the senior-most Supreme Court Justice, Sapnapradhan Malla Sabana Pradian Malla, publicly boycott a full court meeting over disputes regarding IT policy.
And in Parliament, opposition parties have been completely disrupting legislative sessions. They are demanding Prime Minister Bilendra Shah retract a controversial remark he made regarding the border.
Yes.
And again, remaining strictly neutral here, the opposition claims his remarks undermine Nepal's official territorial stance.
So the center is completely bogged down in investigations, boycotts, and walkouts.
But ironically, while Kathmandu is frozen, the local governments have their feet held to the fire. They are constitutionally forced to keep moving. June 15th was Asar 1 Asar, the hard deadline for all 7 provinces to table their annual budgets.
And this is the undeniable benefit of the federal system. Bagmati province led with a 66.93 billion rupee budget. But the number that really matters, the one that impacts daily life, is the 218.3 billion rupees allocated nationally for education.
That is a massive chunk of change. What does 218 billion actually buy on the ground?
It buys technological upgrades like smart boards for community schools, yes. But fundamentally, it funds the midday meal program.
Ah, the midday meals. This is a policy that does not get enough attention.
It really doesn't.
For a family struggling with that 5% inflation we talked about earlier, a guaranteed hot meal at school is a massive economic incentive. It is often the deciding factor in not pulling their kid out of class to work in the fields during lean month.
Exactly. It is a direct poverty alleviation tool disguised as an education budget.
Yeah.
It keeps kids fed so they possess the physical energy to actually focus on learning.
I love focusing on those tangible details because they prove that despite the political theater echoing out of the capital, real life continues.
It has to.
And in fact, Nepal is quietly hitting some massive milestones in physical and cultural rebuilding. I mean, it has been a decade since the devastating 2015 earthquake. This week, India formally handed over 72 fully reconstructed health facilities and 12 restored cultural heritage sites.
10 years sounds like a long time, and the recovery process has undeniably been bogged down by endless paperwork and logistical nightmares. But standing up 72 operational clinics in communities that lost absolutely everything is a hard-won monumental achievement.
Absolutely. And it isn't just physical mortar and bricks. They are building crucial digital infrastructure, too. India's Pashini platform and Kathmandu University just signed an OU to build a voice-first Nepali language translation tool.
What's fascinating here is the technology itself. Pashini is an AI-driven language model designed specifically to bridge the digital divide.
How so?
By creating a robust voice-first translation tool for Nepali, you are allowing someone who maybe cannot read or write or who doesn't speak English to access vital government services, banking, or the broader internet just by speaking into their phone in their native language.
That is true digital inclusion. That's amazing.
It really is.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This is undeniably the proudest news of the week. Nepal didn't just participate in global culture this week. Nepal made absolute history.
Oh, this is such a great story.
Right. Director Abhinash Bikram Shah's Abhinash Bikram SAH debut feature film, Elephants in the Fog, won the jury prize in the Uncertain Regard section at the Cannes Film Festival.
The very first Nepalese film to ever win an award at Cannes. The artistic validation of that cannot be overstated.
And what makes this win so significant is the specific story it tells. It completely shatters the expected, romanticized postcard version of Nepal.
Right.
There are no mountaineers, no yaks, no Sherpas. The film is set down in the Trai plains. It follows Pirati, PRIT, a leader in the marginalized Kinnar community, which is a transgender and gender-diverse community whose world upends when a member of her community goes missing.
By choosing to tell a highly complex, nuanced story about a deeply marginalized community in the plains, rather than leaning on the safe crutch of Himalayan exoticism, Shah proves that Nepal can produce world-class, challenging cinema on its own terms.
Yeah, we have our own stories to tell.
Historically, the domestic film industry has been totally eclipsed by the massive Bollywood machine next door. Winning at Cannes signals to the world and to the diaspora that Nepalese storytelling is globally relevant and fiercely original.
And you can see that desire to change the global narrative leading directly into the economy, specifically tourism. Nepal is rolling out a new wellness tourism strategy covering 2026 to 2035. They were aggressively pitching at the ITE Hong Kong Expo, and Tribhuvan University's Alatkala Lalitkala campus just hosted an international music festival showcasing classical traditions.
The strategy here is deeply calculated. For decades, Nepal's tourism brand has been a one-time bucket list destination for hardcore thrill seekers. You climb Everest once, you take your photo, and you never come back.
Yeah, that's so true.
The government realizes that model is highly vulnerable and ultimately not sustainable.
So how do they actually fix that perception?
You pivot to wellness and culture. By hosting classical music festivals and promoting high-end wellness retreats, you rebrand the country as a place to slow down, to heal, and to experience deep heritage. You transform a one-time adrenaline tourist into a repeat visitor who comes back every 3 years to decompress.
It is a profound shift in identity. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We are looking at a country navigating an incredibly complex transition. It is wiring itself into instant digital payment grids while struggling to string physical power lines.
Yep.
It is gridlocked by high-level political scandals in the capital while simultaneously delivering smart boards and meals to rural classrooms. And it is boldly stepping onto the world stage at Cannes, demanding to be seen not as a stereotype, but as a complex, rapidly modernizing nation.
The paradox is the reality. It is messy, but it is undeniably moving forward.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up today, we want to share a great resource for our listeners based in the UK. If you are part of the Nepalese Nepo LEEZ community settling in Britain, or you know someone who is, we highly recommend checking out balea.uk.
It's a really fantastic resource.
It is. It's a community-focused classifieds platform. Whether you are hunting for local jobs, looking for housing, trying to find cultural events, or just wanting to support local Nepalese businesses, balea.uk is incredibly useful. It's all about making those local connections easier, so definitely give them a look.
And to read the full stories we unpack today, to dive into the original sources, and to stay connected with everything happening back home, we encourage you to visit nepalidiaspora.net.
Absolutely. Head over to nepalidiaspora.net for the complete Nepali Diaspora Digest. As we close this deep dive, we want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
For decades, the defining characteristic of the diaspora's relationship with the homeland has been necessity specifically, the heavy burden of sending money back just to keep families afloat. But as we see the rollout of formal diaspora bonds, instant peer-to-peer digital remittance networks, and globally celebrated cultural exports like we saw at Cannes, the dynamic is shifting.
It really is.
The question for you is, how will your personal relationship with Nepal evolve? As the infrastructure catches up to the ambition, will your connection transition from a sense of familial obligation to a genuine sense of opportunity, pride, and active investment?
It's a really powerful question to carry with you. From the silent transfer of digital currency across a border to a historic trophy on the French Riviera, the story of Nepal is being actively rewritten, and you are a vital part of that narrative. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive from the Nepali Diaspora Network. Stay curious, stay connected, and we will see you next time.